every year we have upwards of 60-70% new registrators. But the problem that ails Kenya remain. So what ails Kenya? What as voters do we need to do? Number two, in your position, esteemed position as alternative leadership of this country, is a call and request that you help us to elevate the level of debate. Currently, we are all engaged in the conversation about NGCDF, about GAF, about Senate Oversight Fund, but nobody is talking about whether there is a prudent utilization of those funds. We are talking about should they go to the devolved government, should they go to the central government, but nobody is talking about making sure wherever the funds are, they need to be utilized properly. Number three, touching on audit, which is where most of...
Limit the questions we have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Let's have a lady. Those are two gentlemen. Yeah. Quickly. Yes. Yeah. The mic is not on.
My name is CPA Catherine Juma, and looking at Kenya, we have a government that is very expensive. We saw the original 21 districts divided into 47 counties, and so many other things, positions came in with that during the constitution that is now over 10 years old. I want to hear, Your Excellency, your opinion on whether the voices of the accountants were heard as far as the cost of delivery that government is concerned. Because we had the legal mind, the lawyers were very vocal, and the political class. Would you, in your opinion, as a politician, say that the accountants were heard? Or did we keep quiet? And are we doing anything to change how this country is governed as far as cost of delivery is concerned? Thank you.
Okay. Finally here, those a lady. I think we are done. No, there's a lady here because we had two gentlemen. And shoot your questions straight.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Your Excellency, for your presentation. Mine is to ask you about public debt. This has been a widespread concern, and as a Kenyan, as I read about the growing public debt, even with the local borrowing and the interest rates, it is something that is very, it needs to be addressed. So how would you intend to balance that out? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency?
Chair.
Is another question? No, we
Yes,
can...
Chairman, pride in one, we are requesting to be allowed one more question, if that is okay.
Maybe you can respond to these ones first, just in case there
Okay.
will be one or two, but let him respond. Probably in the process of responding, he might respond to that one.
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Well, there are quite a number of questions, a handful, very useful questions. I'll start with Georgina. In fact, Georgina, along with another council member, appeared before our NADCO team at Bomas. I remember that name very well. I suspect, like the incoming president, she's from my part of the world. But that is not relevant now. What is important is the question she has put forward. We had then, and that's about 2 years now, over 6,000 companies, Kenyan companies, were translocating to Tanzania, to Uganda. I'm not quite sure how many were translocating to Rwanda and Burundi, but those two countries specifically, over 6,000 Kenyan companies, because of the high levels of taxation, those companies translocated. That actually effectively meant those jobs went across our borders. And Catherine Juma, you would agree with me that losing any job is actually being ineffective cost-wise, because these are the young people who are crying out for their country. They cannot get their jobs back. Therefore, Georgina, the creation of jobs will be a priority in the coming administration. And I think I can link that up with the question that the gentleman asked online. I think it was Mwakazi, what are the 5 issues, executive orders you would issue if you are to become the next leader? And I want to tell you, I've already pronounced myself on one very explicitly. And I repeat here before professionals, do away with housing tax. That is number 1. And that will mean that erosion of the payslip is looked after. I'm thinking very strongly, having been once Minister for Education, when we advised President Kibaki then to think of free primary education. And one time, please Kenyans may have forgotten, I actually ran to be president. If I do it, it'll be 2nd time round. And my votes were stolen, were they not? Got close to 1 million votes, and others were stolen. Never mind. That is history. But then I spoke very clearly about a 24-hour economy. This is time to think about it. If we are going to create those jobs, Madam Georgina, we have to work like bees. We have no time to waste. Every Kenyan who is unemployed is a big problem to all of us. And then they turn violent, we call them goons, and then become ready for political leaders who have lost focus, and they believe they can buy leadership by employing goons. Look at what happened at the promulgation. I think former Deputy President Gachagua, not former deputy. Deputy President Gachagua just wanted to name his new political party. They could not even allow him. You pay goons to cause harm, possibly death to leaders. Kenyans must stand up and say, no. I, like Mahatma Gandhi, I believe in change which is free of bloodletting. And so we will say no to goonism, because these unemployed Kenyans, you give them 500 shillings and tell them, stone Madam President, they would do it. We have to get our conscience back. But free education should be taken a notch higher. Whether or not it will be my executive order number 2, will await the input of the professionals, Catherine Juma. But we can do free primary education, free secondary education in our public schools, and even free university education. If we stop the stealing, there will be free university education, because every Kenyan is entitled to the highest quality of life. Vision 2030, some friend talked about Vision 2030. And I've seen in your printed programs, talk about medium-term planning, the 4th edition, to try to achieve the objectives we had set ourselves, given ourselves about Vision 2030. What are you hearing? Do you hear the Ruto administration 1 minute talking about Vision 2030? No. What you hear them talk about is bottom-up. Goodness. Kenyans, I think we need to go for mental checkup. All of us. Bottom-up economics. One time William Ruto thought was a student of Mwai Kibaki, was a foremost economist. Remember, as leaders, President Mwai Kibaki, when he was Minister for Finance, actually appeared in the Time magazine. That time is the most promising, one of the most promising African and world leaders. He lived to be that. You don't hear anybody talk about Vision 2030. But I can tell you, we have ongoing Vision 2030 projects that this current administration is doing nothing about, or they least care about them. I'll give you an example. A project that is supposed to produce 650 megawatts of electricity, known as the High Grand Falls Dam, should have been implemented by now. And that to add on to electricity, connectivity, and even be able to export our electricity. You know that at midnight, we receive from the Owen Falls Dam in Uganda so much. And yet this Vision 2030, which are also supposed to do entire irrigation of Tana River County all the way to Garissa counties. Nobody talks about that. Even the Mama Mbogas are forgotten. And one of the things you do, like we did with President Kibaki, was to remove to zero rate the border borders. Do you know that a border today that would have cost 70,000 shillings is costing 150 shillings because of the taxation, Ruto regime? That will be another executive order. At least we have something that is helping the youth. And in terms of climate change discussions, again, I remind myself, I was Minister for the Environment when Professor Wangari Maathai won the Nobel Peace Laureate Award, and I was able to take her to Norway that time to receive that award. Environment is key. And when President Ruto met with Prime Minister Sunak, I think it was, of the UK, in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, they discussed this project about the High Grand Falls. And what has happened since is this committee in Treasury supposed to do this. The PPPs, which are actually potentially very useful, public-private partnerships, are really being held hostage because this administration will say we want 10%, we want 10% to go to this and the other, therefore, grant standing. And this effectively means loss of jobs for Kenyans. Vision 2030, whatever remains between now and 2030 will, of course, need to be amended. Africa is talking about Vision 2063. I believe myself, even as professionals, we take out our gloves and decide for once we are getting out of our comfort zones and stop corruption. I talked about you signing documents that sell out your conscience and your country. If we do that, we stop Ruto and his team from mismanaging this economy, we will be able to do stuff between now and 2030 and prepare for the next medium-term plan. These opportunities that the top advisors in the Ruto administration, including CS Bandi, should have been here to talk about. But we will issue very clear instructions. I am very passionate about free education for all citizens. And we will fund that free education when we stop the stealing. I also want to say that number 4, number 3, number 5, Mr. Mwakazi, await further instructions. I will be able to talk to you about those as we go on. Now, somebody talked about Kenyans who are tainted, and that gentleman must be from Kitui County. Senator, talk to your elector. And let me tell you, now I'm talking like a professional lawyer. No person shall be condemned unheard. So don't out there start there and say, yeah, tainted. What business do you have with so and so? If there are angels in this room, please put up your hands. But there can be policies that draw the line. We would draw the line on the sand and say, from now on, zero corruption. It can happen, my friends. Now, I'll give you an example of somebody you may think is tainted. Governor Natembeya. 2 days ago, and I gave advance notice, he was haunted. Because they want to punish any dissenting voices, went out and obtained a search warrant. And with that search warrant, They carried, I'm told, this is to be verified, about 61 million shillings all the way to Trans Nzoia, to Governor Natembea's house, to plant evidence. 61 million. Waseme amepatikana na hundi ya 61 million shillings. Huyu mjamaa ni mwizi. What happened? The youths in Trans Nzoia, the Gen Zs in Trans Nzoia, decided, no, we will not allow this. So what did they do? They instead vandalized the Subarus, those famous Subarus. They were flat tire. And to their amazement, they found the loot. There's a village called Matisi in Trans Nzoia. Go check Senator Ambua. That night was party time. Enjoying the 61 million evidence to be planted on Governor Natembeya. What a shame. What a shame. Well, former Minister for Agriculture, Mr. Linturi, you may say he's tainted, but he gave us assurance that he's not going to be condemned and hard. Hata beba mizigo ya watu wengine. Is going to talk to Kenyans about the fake fertilizer. Remember? Fake fertilizer. Who was responsible? Who did what? Thank you so much, brother Dr. Wale. It's good to see you. You are a survivor of heart attack. Let's give him a big applause. And thank you for standing strong for your faith. So again, Senator Linturi and former Governor, Minister for Agriculture, Kenyans are waiting to know the truth. Although biblically the truth is Jesus Christ. And Kenyan leaders keep on saying, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Kenyans want to know the truth about Mbolea feki. And then you see, kumbe the big boys, the bigger boys, were the ones involved. So don't judge people on the face value. Listen to their story. And even the Dao, the ignorant, I like the words of the Desiderata, the Dao and the ignorant, they too have their story. But every person must be subject to the same treatment under the law. So I talked about Vision 2030 and Rose Mukavi, amazing. Tea production, you know we have the tea auction here in Mombasa. Did you know that a Kenyan called Joe Kamau and his younger brother decided to be very active in the tea auction here in Mombasa? And they had created an extra 300 jobs for young Kenyans here in Mombasa. What happened to Joe Kamau over Christmas? In 2024 or 2023, he was arrested, was taken around before DCI, and they could not provide any charges. They actually wanted to say money laundering, our professionals, money laundering. They found nothing. This young man was doing value addition to Kenyan tea. Do you know now, as a result of compromising stand by Kenya Tea Development Authority, KTDA, our friends from Rwanda, congratulations. The tea from Rwanda has overtaken the tea from Kenya in terms of quality, because they also bring their tea from Rwanda, Uganda, here in Mombasa for the auction. Those 300 jobs were lost. Joe Kamau translocated to Dubai, given all the welcome. This is a Kenyan, example of a Kenyan entrepreneur who wants to make a difference, to create those jobs, and they get frustrated. Therefore, Rose, we will do quite a bit to just, again, get rid of corruption from KTDA and wherever. Well, you asked me a question that's very, very critical at this time. I know General Buhuran, the leader in Sudan. You know, after South Sudan became independent, they kept the names the Republic of South Sudan, headquartered capital Juba, and Khartoum, the headquarters of Khartoum, now translocated because of the hostilities between RSF and the army. I think they moved to Port Sudan, and even there they are getting attacked under drones. And you heard General Buran say, because of William Ruto's support to RSF, these are the original Janjaweeds from Darfur. People wanted for crimes against humanity, killing the black community. But they come here, we give them red carpet treatment. And instead of now working to bring the factions together, we have taken sides. Professionals, did you know that gold from Darfur is flown into JKI and then flown on to Dubai, treated under the rules of origin as Kenyan gold? And that probably is funding the war effort in the Sudan. So, if I got opportunity, I'll look for General Buran and tell him, please don't punish the Kenyan farmers, because I think the biggest exporter consumer of our tea is Iran, then Pakistan, and of course Sudan. Wanakula ile kawa tungu, tea, black tea. And people are sitting here supervising corruption. How will this economy ever grow? So I still maintain that it is possible to get rid of corruption, and this economy will grow like where Kibaki and I left it. We are later joined by Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And Kenyans will remember that is the time when our GDP growth actually hit 7%. Now I want to conclude. I hope I've tried to respond. I would want to get professional advice from you. I've always dreamed of Dubai in Kenya, not necessarily Dubai. And Mombasa can be a free port. That's how we'll now incrementally, we will grow this economy exponentially. This economy will take off. But because of corruption, I'll give you another example. President Paul Kagame decided to give 49% shares to Qatar Airways. Qatar Airways had come wanting to do the same with Kenya Airways, but you show our 10%, our 20%. So Qatar migrated to Kigali. Kigali is about to launch one of the best international airports in the African continent. JKIA supposed to be leased to Andani. Corruption, Shah, Shi, Andani. We must talk openly as Kenyans. So this is where we are, the state of a nation with regard to corruption. Imagine if Qatar Airways had bought the 49 shares in Kenya Airways. If I was William Ruto, I'd give him free advice, because I think Kenya is in good standing with the Emirates. Perhaps try and convince the Emirates to do what Qatar has done in Rwanda. Perhaps our international airport will regain its name. Do you know that any Kenyan arriving from anywhere in the world, and there are many in the diaspora, wakiingia pale JKI, mizigo inawakwa XXXX, that means unalipa huyu customs pesa nyingi zaidi. Wengine wamenulia tu relatives leso moja or something. You have to pay ushuru even on that. This is an ushuru land. You pay through your nose. I think Kenyans are now the wiser. So I think I've tried to address that, Catherine. And public debt, of course, Madam, you didn't give us your name, but this public debt. Remember when William Ruto came to power, he said there was going no external borrowing, nothing. William Ruto goes to America, is given the highest honor by President Joe Biden. Kenya is made a non-NATO ally, which I openly objected to, because that's my forte. Our foreign policy orientation has always been that we are positively non-aligned. We are friends to all, because we are still young economy, and we want to grow. But you take sides now, you are put on the arm's length, because our Shabab and others Instead of hitting us like they hit us in 1998, remember Dar es Salaam and Nairobi bomb blast? They were hitting Americans, now they'll be hitting Kenyans because we are aligned. Because of it, our men were taken to Haiti. There's a family in Kiambu still crying for the remains of their loved one. A thing which did not go under the UN Security Council arrangement. It was a deal cut between Kenya and the United States. But what does William Ruto do after that? Agenda item number 5, when a ranking Chinese delegation came to Kenya, and William Ruto said, please China, help Kenya become a member of BRICS. Now from being an aligned nation to a member of BRICS, these are serious matters. Of course, as a sovereign nation, it is our duty to accept to join any bloc without let or hindrance. But don't play games with them. Be honest. The People's Republic of China has helped this economy significantly. And no country, including the United States, can do without China. This is why Donald Trump himself has had to discuss this tariff regime with the People's Republic. Nobody can, but be consistent. Go for non-active, non-alignment. I pity my brother, Wycliffe Musalia, fumbling and not knowing exactly what to do. So the public debt is still an issue. It is growing. I think it's now in trillions. If you use money to develop your economy, develop your infrastructure, do the right thing, minus corruption, nobody will really worry so much about public debt. But if we take over, President Xi Jinping, the leader of the People's Republic, I'm sure, will look favorably at those commitments that can help reduce our level of public debt. So I think I've tried to cover those things, and if there's one that is probably not dealt with, I think Finance Bill 2025, our friend from Kajiado, you know, that's why CS Badi should have come here and try to explain and get concurrence from this very authoritative forum. As I said in my statement, line by line approach with regard to the 2025 Finance Bill. But Kenyans are watching. Those things that were objected to by Gen Z's, a majority of Kenyans, are still being sneaked in. So if there's another clarion call, hashtag reject the bill, Kenyans have every reason to reject it. But before they do, please let them listen to you. I've tried to address all those issues, I think. It's Catherine Juma again on expensive government and cost of delivery, and whether the voice of the accountants was listened to. You see, if you don't stand up, Catherine, and get listened to, you can demand to be listened to. I gave you an example. Your own professional goes in to sit as a member of that selection panel for the IEBC reconstitution panel. He fights, I don't know how well he fought or he got compromised, I don't know. But the name of your own chairman, who should be schooled in numbers better than the lawyers, right, gets ignored. And you are sitting here very comfortably. I think that accountants, if you allow me, I can teach you to demonstrate. I was almost killed in 2023 with Raila and Eugene Wamala, my colleague, almost got killed in Mathare. Because then we are demonstrating against the high cost of living. If you sit out there, don't think you look less of a professional by using your rights under Article 37. In fact, you'll be reinforcing. You know, this is the time, my friends, to do something for your country. Do something for your country. I saw somebody saying, I don't know whether William Ruto said, he set off for my friend Raila Odinga because Kalonzo alikuwa kichwa ngumu. Nitakuwa kichwa ngumu mpaka waende nyumbani. I thank you.
Thank you very much. You give a mic to a politician and he will answer many questions that are not asked after answering yours. So thank you very much, CPA. Olive from Pride in One, you had a question that you, I don't know whether it has been answered. We are running a bit late on time. CPA Olive from Pride in One.
Chairman, we have one more from Pride in Two.
Okay, one, because time is not on our side. CPA Rispa and CPA Olive, proceed very quickly.
Thank
Pride in One, yes, our question is ready.
Proceed, CPA Olive.
Dr. Wawero will ask the question.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Wawero Jackson. I'll go straight to my question. Now that you have thrown your heart into the ring to lead the great country of Kenya, I request you to indulge us as accountants your position as a lawyer on odious debts. Given that our country debt is running at about 12 trillion, what will be your policy position on odious debt? Thank you.
CPA Rispa, Pride in Two.
Pride in Two, we have a question from Council Member CPA Wycliffe. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name, as you've said, is CPA Wycliffe Bichanga, Council Member. Your Excellency, this is about county governments. I think for the longest time, there's been a discussion about the economic viability of our counties. Will be good to hear what are your thoughts on this. That is it time we considered probably merging counties and capping the number, because there's been a discussion in terms of duplication and probably some duties could be done better if we had bigger regions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Back to you.
Thank you. Your Excellency, you can take those two.
Well, I thank you, Dr. Wawero Jackson. 12 trillion in form of debt, trillion shillings, I believe. And I think that I tried, though not with a sense of in-depth approach to deal with it, but these, some of them, what you're calling odious debts, there are other debts, you know, what I think even under Jubilee administration, what they tried to do that time was to borrow commercially, commercial debts. My expertise is in negotiations. And in business, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. A lot of these debts will need serious renegotiation. But you must establish a level of credibility so the people with whom you're negotiating can take you seriously. So I will work with the accounting profession to have a real look at all these numbers and be able to know what needs to be done. On the economic viability of the counties, I think again, Madam Catherine addressed this issue when she was saying that the voice of the accountants was never listened to. Economic viability of the counties. Let me give you a very live example. Madam Shakila is the Secretary General of Wiper Democratic Movement. She's from the county of Lamu. Tell me if you try to merge Lamu with Tana River, or merge the whole thing to create one coastal region, what that will mean. I believe myself, and I want to be able to convince the accountants on this. Again, when we deal with governance, you'll be able to even, instead of 47, be able to sustain the 47 counties, all right? And then, by the way, there are other smaller constituencies, like in Taita Taveta, several 27 constituencies, which as we speak are still seen to be unconstitutional because nobody did anything about it. By the way, had William Ruto and Raila Odinga implemented the NADCO recommendations, because we specifically dealt with those issues, the country will be very far. But now we are faced with another election and a lot of prevarication, and nobody wants to commit. My view then will be we need to further interrogate, because if you're looking at amending the Constitution, the lawyers will talk to you about the basic structure. The 47 counties are written in the Constitution. To do anything about that, you need to go to the Kenyans with a referendum. On a referendum, make it a referendum issue. There were those who felt that time that instead of having the 47 counties, why don't we stick to the 8 original provinces? That's still a valid question. But the decision was taken by the Kenyan people at a referendum to establish the 47 counties. If you give somebody a right, that's a legal issue again. You give somebody a right and you want to take it away from them, you really have a lot of explaining to do. Therefore, the safe approach would be stop the stealing, stop the corruption, get people to develop themselves wherever they are. I hope I've answered you, and that was actually the question by council member. Was it Chama? It's the same thing. It will need a lot of consultation. I thank you.
So thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to our 10th Vice President. CEO with your team. Let's do what we should do. And then I'll request council members who are here to come on stage. May I recognize my predecessors who are here also, FCPM Mwatu, Julius, the 22nd Chairman of ICPAK. May I recognize FCPA Rose Maura, the 23rd Chairman of ICPAK. I'm the 25th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you for your time. Asante sana. Excellent. Thank you so much.